as Chloe said before, we are talking about what it truly means to be a follower of Jesus and how we can discover the life he has called us to live. And the question I have for you today is, have you ever gotten something that you thought you really needed and then it turned out not to be what you thought it was going to be? My goal today, in the next few minutes we have together, is for those of us who are followers of Jesus, I want to talk about how to have a faith that truly fulfills us. And maybe you're here today, you're invited along, or you're checking out, church, or you're watching this message online, and faith isn't a part of your journey. You wouldn't call yourself a follower of Jesus. I want to talk about what I believe to be one of the greatest reasons to consider becoming a follower of Jesus. How in Jesus we find what we're truly looking for in life. Now, last week, our lead pastor, Jono, he had a lawnmower story for those who are here. Now, I also have a lawnmower story, which is equally as tragic. Now, what you need to know about me, I'm a man of convenience when it comes to a lot of the things we have to do as adults, fixing things, building things, mowing the lawn. I mean, send over a real adult and I'll pay you to do it. I once had a conversation with someone and I asked them what their favorite hobby was. And they said, mowing the lawn. Immediately shut down the conversation. I was like, this friendship cannot continue. Thank you, next. I'm just not about that life. I can't imagine getting to a Saturday after a long week, waking up with excitement. It's lawn mowing day. It's bizarre to me, but each to their own. But my wife Ash and I, when we bought our house, we have a backyard, so I had to buy my first lawnmower. So what I did was I went to Bunnings to find the cheapest, easiest lawnmower I could possibly find, and for $99, I found this absolute beast right here, okay? Now, I saw this and I was like, that'll do the job. So I took it home, I brought it out of the box. Didn't realize you had to assemble your own lawnmower. Who knows how to build a lawnmower? You're asking too much of me. And so I started putting it together, and I got to the final piece, which was the grass catcher thing that you put on the back. I don't know if there's a technical term, the butt of the lawnmower. And I just, for the life of me, could not figure out how to put this thing on. After 2 hours of trying, I invited a friend over. We both couldn't figure it out. It just wasn't working, and so I gave up. I just thought, you know what, this is probably more of an accessory than an essential anyways. So I thought, let's just go without it. So I took the lawnmower out into my backyard, and it wouldn't work. I tried to turn it on, it wouldn't work. And then I noticed something. I noticed a place to plug in an extension cord. This lawnmower was so cheap that you had to use an extension cord just to make it work. Not to charge the battery, for it to turn on. So I had to go out and buy a 20-meter long extension cord just to mow my back lawn. And for $99, I honestly thought I was going to get a lawnmower that mowed the lawn itself. I thought this is gonna, it's a good purchase. And so every time I mowed my lawn, not only did I have to hold an extension cord and flick it out of the way back and forth so it doesn't hit the blade, but because I didn't have the grass catcher on the back, the grass would just spray back on me. Now, grass being on me, that is itchy. I can handle that, okay? You have bigger problems in life that you've got to deal with. I can handle a little bit of grass, but I have a dog. And like I said before, I'm a man of convenience when it comes to these things. So do you really think, before I was going to mow the lawn, I was going to walk around the entire backyard and pick up what the dog left me? No, sir, okay? I thought to myself, I'll just mow over it. What's the worst that could happen? I used to do that as a kid. It's good fun. And I won't go into details. I'll just let your imagination run wild a little bit. But if the grass ended up back on me, then so did... Yeah, but to my credit, I only made that mistake 6 or 7 times before I decided to use some wisdom and I stopped mowing my lawn altogether. I gave up and I was like, you know what? This is too inconvenient. I got other priorities I need to deal with. I got a lot on my plate. Mowing your lawn, it's more of an optional thing, right? Until you can't find your dog in the grass, okay? So I just gave up. I stopped mowing the lawn. It just became too difficult until my in-laws came over, and I'd imagine they thought, we don't want our grandson being raised in a forest. So they gave me their old lawnmower, which is much better, and now I can continue mowing the lawn once a year. It's awesome. So it just became too inconvenient, and my default nature is a nature of convenience. And us as humans, our default nature will often be a nature of convenience, of comfort, of ease. That's why we long for the weekend. That's why we book as many holidays as we can. That's why the goal is to retire as young as possible with as much money as possible, because we want to live a life of comfort, of convenience, of ease from the hustle and the craziness of life. And that is fine, but it can and so often find its way into our faith as well. And it leads to something I would call convenient Christianity. Convenient Christianity. And something I've discovered in my journey so far in faith, when it comes to our biggest struggle, our biggest issue, when it comes to following Jesus, we often think of things like busyness or distraction or doubt or circumstances. Insert your own reason why your faith might sometimes struggle. But I actually think these are just symptoms. I think they're just external struggles that point to a deeper issue. I mean, have you ever had a headache and then you typed your symptoms on Google? What does Google do? It gets straight to the heart of the issue. You have a headache, you're probably dying. That's what Google's going to tell you. It gets straight to the fact of the matter. Now, and I think these are just symptoms. The heart of the issue, I believe, is how we view our faith. How we view our faith. Because how you view your faith and what it means to follow Jesus will determine whether your faith is optional or essential, an accessory or a necessity. It will determine whether it's your top priority or number 4 or 5. It will determine whether it is the center of your life or another thing on your weekly calendar, your weekly to-do list. How you view your faith and what it means to be a follower of Jesus is extremely important. And maybe if, you're not a follower of Jesus, believe it or not, your view of God and faith is extremely important. And so what I want to do today is I just want to unpack one moment in the Bible that speaks into our view of Jesus. It's a conversation between Jesus and a woman where Jesus changes her view of him and what it means to have faith in him. And it's a conversation I think that could greatly impact our faith as well. It's recorded by the disciple named John. Now, Jesus and his disciples, they were traveling around and they walked through a town called Samaria. And this is where we pick up the conversation. Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon when a Samaritan woman came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" Because his disciples had gone off to buy some food. And then she says to him, "You are a Jew, I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" Because Jews and Samaritans, they didn't associate, they didn't like each other. That was her first question. Now, to give you a bit of context about this woman, we don't know her name, but what we do know about her is that she grew up, she was a Samaritan, which meant that because of where she lived, because of her cultural background, she would have been someone who had somewhat of a warped view of who God was. She had a knowledge of God. She would have been in environments where people talked about God and religion. She might very well have even at one stage of her life had her own kind of relationship with God. But the fact that she had these little bits of knowledge, but the fact that she was in these environments didn't stop the fact that what we discover through this conversation is she was a woman who prioritized her own needs, her own wants, her own convenience. We find out later in the conversation that she has had 5 husbands in her life, and the person she was currently living with was not her husband. She wasn't married to him. And we might think to ourselves, 5 husbands, and she's now living with another man that isn't her husband. That's extreme even for today's standards. But when you dig beneath the surface level of symptoms and you get to the heart of the issue, what we discover through her cultural background, what we discover through the conversation she has with Jesus, is what her life is saying is, "God, I want you, but on my terms." She viewed faith as optional, and that led to a faith based on convenience. God, I want you, but on my terms. And if we're if we're really honest with ourselves today, we can all fall into the exact same trap. Well, what do I mean? How easy can it be for us in any given day, for example, to wake up and say, I'm gonna experience God this morning. I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna pray. Oh, but you know what? This thing is fighting for my attention, or I need to get that done before work. I'll just pick it up again tomorrow. How easy can it be for us to go, I'm gonna go to church this weekend. Oh, but it's been a big week at work, and I've got this and that I need to do before next week. Maybe next time. Oh, I know I'm serving on that team this weekend, but the assignments are piling up, the tasks are piling up. I better just message them and say I can't make it. I want to give, I want to be generous, it's who I want to be, but the cost of living and prices are just more expensive. I just need to save what I have. Oh, I want to serve, I want to volunteer, but only on weekends that I decide, only on weekends that fit in with my schedule. We can all find ourselves falling into this mindset of being and having convenient faith, which is so true. We, much like the Samaritan woman, we can often find ourselves wanting more out of our faith, wanting the things of God, wanting what God wants for us, but prioritizing other things that we view as essential at the same time, which is so true, isn't it? Because you don't have to convince me to go out and buy food. It's essential, so it's a top priority. You don't have to pull on my heartstrings for me to change my son's nappy. It's essential, so it's a top priority for Ashley. I don't have an optional marriage. I don't get to come home from a long day of work and go, Ash, it's been one of those days. I'm just not really feeling it. Can we pick up being married later on in the week? Can't do that. You don't have a degree or a job based on your convenience. I assume that when that deadline comes around, that due date for that assignment, your professor doesn't say, you know what, guys, life's busy. Just get around to it whenever you can. Or not at all. Who cares? You're still going to pass anyway. That doesn't happen unless it's an arts degree, okay? All right. Now I know who's in the room. We see these things as essential, which means even when they become inconvenient, we keep them as a top priority. Which is so true, isn't it? Because the truth is, we always find a way. We always find a way to do the things we view as essential. And so many of the things as a follower of Jesus, so many of the different aspects, we can often view as optional because, well, let's be honest, no one's forcing you to live for God. And, your life might not end in an instant if you don't read your Bible for a few days, or if you don't go to church this month, or if you aren't serving, or you aren't giving, and you aren't contributing. Your life's probably not just going to end like that. And so we view these needs, these material needs as essentials, as necessities for survival, because they are. And so when these things clash, if I have to choose between something that's essential and something that's optional, I'm obviously going to choose what's essential because I need to do that. And Jesus never denies that these things, working, saving, family, studying, these are essential in life. But what we're about to see in this conversation is he simply shifts our view of what we thought was optional into something that's absolutely essential. So Jesus, he says to this woman, give me a drink. We know about this woman's background. We know about the kind of life she's chosen to live. Jesus says to her, give me a drink. She says, why on earth would you ask me for a drink? And then Jesus says this. He answered her and said, if you knew the gift of God, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him. In this one sentence, I believe Jesus gives us the key to experiencing a faith that truly fulfills us, the key to experiencing more from our faith. He says, if you knew, you would have asked. What's he doing? He's pointing out a truth that we've all probably experienced, and that is that there is a link between knowing and experiencing. What you know impacts how you experience things, right? We've all experienced this before. Have you ever received a gift and because you had no idea how to use it, you couldn't truly appreciate it? Have you ever had an experience that you couldn't fully appreciate because you just had no clue what's going on? My son, Harvey, he is 3 months old. Okay, this is my son most of the time. This is Harvey. Okay, yeah, I think he's pretty cute. He's got my chins, and this is him most of the time. Like this is Instagram worthy. This is the moment where you can nudge your partner and say, "Hey, we could make one of those, right?" This is that moment. And if you do make a baby because of this message, I only ask that you call it Stephen. Works for a boy or a girl. But this is him most of the time, and it's amazing, and it's adorable. But this is also Harvey. Now, this is. Ash has made me promise that every time I use Harvey in an analogy and I embarrass him, I have to put money in a bank account for him when he's an adult. So he is racking up money at the moment. This is him some of the time because he has absolutely no clue what's going on. He's a baby. His experience in life so far has been opening his eyes and then being chauffeured around every waking moment. Like he's got it made, but he has no clue what's going on half the time. And what he knows or doesn't know about what's happening impacts his experience. The first time we took him in the car on the way back from the hospital, he had no clue what's going on. I'd imagine he was freaking out on the inside and thinking, guys, we're all moving really fast. Someone tell me what's going on, okay? Like, I am not coping, right? He gets overtired, but then he cries because he's overtired, which keeps him awake, and so he gets more tired, and he keeps crying, and that cycle continues. If he knew what he was doing, he would just tuck himself to sleep. It's that simple. Like, he spits his dummy out and then immediately whinges as if to say, put it back in! And then that cycle continues, and it goes on and on and on until he passes out. People who say babies are really intelligent, compared to what? Okay? But no, jokes aside, he is a genius baby, and he will be the first pastor, doctor, professional athlete. I believe that with all my heart. It's funny when this happens to babies. It's funny, but this feeling is something we all experience in our lives too. Knowing is linked to experiencing. What you know will impact how you experience, which is why I believe Jesus said, if you knew, you would have asked. If you knew the gift of God, if you knew what you could have in me, if you knew what you could truly experience through me, you would ask and your life could look a whole lot different. I first became a Christian. I didn't grow up Christian. I had a great upbringing, but just faith wasn't a part of that. And so I spent my teenage years thinking that belief in God was absolutely ridiculous. Like, why on earth would you believe in this kind of stuff? You Christians must be crazy. There's something going on. And on top of that, I was like most people. I wanted to build my own kingdom. I wanted to live the life and build a life that I wanted to live. I wanted to live by my own rules. And maybe you're here today, maybe you're watching this message online, and you'd be in the same boat. Faith just isn't a part of your life for any number of reasons. I was going on that path of not following Jesus, and it led to a whole lot of emptiness, of hurt, of regret. There was something deep within that was missing in my life, and I found myself searching for that in all the wrong places. But then Jesus changed my life in the most extraordinary way through going on a journey of asking questions and seeking answers. I discovered not only how real and how life-changing God is, but that this isn't all by accident. I have a purpose. I was created on purpose, for a purpose. I discovered that I could have a relationship with my Heavenly Father. I found forgiveness for all of my many, many mistakes. I found hope instead of anxiety. I found a light in amongst a dark world. I found healing for my brokenness. I found something I'd never experienced before. Everything began to change when I followed Jesus. And so what did I do? What was my response to receiving this incredible gift? I gave Jesus my everything. I signed up for everything. I did anything and everything I could in return for what Jesus had done for me. You want help with this and that? Sign me up. We get to give our money and it changes people's lives. Take it. Well, this is a monthly roster. Can't I do it weekly? Wait, we get to experience this every single week in church for free? Let me set up with you at least. Wait, we get to talk about this on a Sunday and during the week in a connect group? How many can I be in? What else can I be a part of? How else can I give back to the one who gave everything to me? Because I could not believe, I could not wrap my head around the fact that God loved me so much that he sent his son Jesus to die in my place for my mistakes, and then he rose again so that I could have new life in him. I could not believe that I had been forgiven of so much. I could not believe that God would want someone like me to be a part of his plan for redeeming humanity, that he would give me a purpose. I could not believe that the creator of the universe, God Almighty, the King of Kings, the most important person in the history of the world, wanted me to know him, wanted to be in relationship with me. He wanted to spend every waking moment with me. I couldn't believe it. It's the greatest thing I've ever experienced. There's nothing like it. But then, being around for a little bit, I met some of those Christians. And you've probably met some of those Christians too. It was a long time ago. I don't remember their names, so for the sake of this message, let's call them Convenience and Comfort. And you might have had conversations with people like this. I began to hear things like, guess I should go to church this weekend. I have to help out again this weekend. But they want me to give money. I barely earn enough for me, let alone to give to other people. I'll help, sure, but I'm going to decide when. I didn't get anything out of that service. I might go check out somewhere else. This place isn't giving me what I need. I hear things like, I can't believe, they want me to do this. I didn't enjoy that experience. I didn't get what I needed from that. I just need to prioritize me, okay? My life is piling up, things are piling up, things are crazy. I just don't have time for any of this. And I was just this new Christian hearing things like this and thinking, what do you mean? What do you mean? How could you not want to give everything to the one, this Jesus who gave everything for you? What do you mean? Have you not experienced this amazing grace? This amazing grace. Have you not been forgiven of so much? Have you not experienced this life-changing love that God is longing to give you, this free gift of salvation, this free gift of hope and peace? What do you mean? What could be more important than this? What would you rather be doing than experiencing this Jesus and leading other people to him so that they could experience him too? What is more important? What do you mean? Have we not experienced the same thing? Do you not know what he's done for you? Do you not know what you've been called to? Have we experienced a different Jesus? It blew my mind. It broke my heart to hear Christians talking about Jesus and about faith like that. That we would receive this incredible gift, this free gift that we didn't earn, we didn't deserve. It's just God handing it to us and us taking it. And then us putting it on a shelf and saying, I'll get to that when I get to that. I couldn't believe it. And I started to think, what was the difference between me and some of these people that I'm hanging out with? Well, it wasn't age, it wasn't stage, it wasn't status. I certainly wasn't better than them in any way, shape, or form. Far from it. I simply just think we had a different view of what it means to follow Jesus. I simply just think we just saw things a little bit differently. And so Jesus is saying, if you only knew, if you knew the magnitude of this gift, if you truly knew what you could have in me, what I want to do in your life, what I want to do through your life. You would do anything and everything you can to experience. You would push everything aside to experience this incredible gift that I have for you to the fullest. If you only knew, no amount of convenience, no amount of busyness, no other priority would stop you from experiencing what I have for you. If you only knew. And here's the thing, when we truly understand what Jesus has done for you, has in store for you, and can do through you, that's when we experience a faith that will fulfill you and a life that goes beyond you. It's not about just doing more. It's not about achieving more. It's not about adding more things on your to-do list. No, it's if you only knew. And so what does faith and life look like? How does knowing about this gift actually change the way we walk our lives? Well, Jesus continues. He says, if you knew the gift of God, you would have asked me, and I would give you living water. Let's check that slide up. He says, you would ask me. If you only knew, you would ask me, and I would give you living water. Living water. What does Jesus mean by living water? Well, living water, it simply means experiencing something that satisfies the deepest needs of the human condition, which we believe is a true and life-changing relationship with God. Why? Because in that, we find purpose in life. We find healing from our brokenness. We find freedom from being bound by sin and circumstance. We find hope for the future. We find everything that we need in Jesus. We find living water. Living water. That's what Jesus wants to give us. And, for those of us who are followers of Jesus, I hear things like this and I'm often tempted to think, you know what, check. I'm following Jesus, so thank you. Next, what's the next point? But as we've discovered, the reality of our faith is that you can be a Christian and still be stuck in convenient faith. You can be a follower of Jesus and still be defined by your circumstances. After all, it was convenient Christians that I spoke about before, meeting earlier in my faith journey. And there were a whole lot of convenient Christians who were at one stage, at one point, at one moment, praising and worshiping Jesus for his miracles, and at the next moment, shouting, "Crucify him," when things began to get difficult. You can be a follower of Jesus. You can receive the gift of relationship with him, but still not experience true, life-changing transformation. How is that? How is that possible? Well, it's because we are all searching for living water. We all need this thing that's going to satisfy us to the depths of our soul. We're all searching for it, but so often we just go searching for it in the wrong places. And this is what we discover when Jesus continues this conversation by comparing the water he wants to give with the natural water that this woman is seeking. He says this, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. The water that she's talking about is natural, material water. And he says, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst again. What's Jesus saying here? Well, he's using natural water that she's searching for to point to a deeper truth. That when we thirst for, when we drink the water of material gain, of building our own kingdom, of wanting to live life by my rules and my priorities, it's going to leave us wanting more. It's going to leave us never truly satisfied, just that little bit. You know what? I've achieved this, but I need that little bit more. I still need to keep going. He's saying it's not all we thought and hoped it would be. It's like drinking salt water. You'll never be truly satisfied. It'll just make you thirstier and thirstier. Now, I discovered this pretty early on in my life. I experienced this thing for the first time in my first year of high school when I wanted to achieve true greatness. And by that, I mean I wanted to get my first girlfriend, okay? I thought to myself, I've waited 12 long years for this. I will wait no longer. All right, so I did all the romantic things that you should do. I started wearing Lynx Africa deodorant. Shout out to Lynx Africa. I started using Listerine mouthwash. And I started sitting next to an empty seat on the bus so that I could offer that seat to any and every girl that walked past, okay? And to my surprise, a few weeks into high school, my goal had been accomplished. I somehow got my first girlfriend. Okay, I thought school is awesome. Okay, this is what it's about. I'm here for the long run, right? And so I had a relationship. It was great, but then something happened. Something strange happened. She began wanting to hang out with me and my friends at lunchtime. And I thought, ooh, coming on a bit strong there, you know? She started wanting to play soccer with me, and I thought, not having that, you know? And then she started wanting to hang out on Saturdays, even though she should have known that Saturdays are for the boys. You know, like I don't make the rules, but I certainly follow them, right? And so after a 2-week-long relationship of me telling her, this is how you should be doing relationships, I began to think, maybe I'm the problem, okay? So then I decided that I was going to initiate hanging out with her one day. I thought she'd love that. So I left for school. Little did I know that she sent me an absolute essay of a message, breaking up with me via MySpace. MySpace, that's a throwback. I didn't have MySpace on my phone then, so I walk up to her at school. One of the most awkward moments of my life was when I walked up to her completely oblivious, her and her friends, and out of sheer awkwardness, she completely ignored me, which felt like an eternity, until one of her friends finally just turned to me and said, check MySpace. And then they kept talking to each other. And that was the end of my first relationship in high school, okay? I got what I was hoping for, but it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. Thankfully, I've come a long way since then. I no longer have MySpace, so there's hope for everyone. Now, ridiculous and embarrassing example, but my guess is you've probably experienced that same feeling as well when you've gotten something that you longed for, that you hoped for, that you thought you really needed, but there was still just that little bit of unsatisfaction. There was still just that little bit of, okay, but now I need something else. I haven't found what I'm truly looking for. I mean, that's what we see time and time again. When people reach just the heights of their goals, when people reach the pinnacle of success and yet still feel empty on the inside. That's why there was a study done years ago where groups of people on certain incomes were asked, this is fascinating, were asked, what income would you need in order for you to be happy? And so they started with a group of people who were on $50,000 a year. What income would you need in order for you to be happy? And the average answer was $70,000. If I earned that, then I'd be happy and comfortable in life. So they went to a group of people who earned $70,000 and they asked them, what amount of money would you need in order for you to be happy? And the average answer was $100,000. I would need this. So they went to people with $100,000. What amount would you? $250,000. Then they went to people with $250,000. How much money would you need to earn? $500,000. Then they went to people with $500,000 income every year. How much money would you need to make in order for you to be happy? And the average answer was $1 million. I would need that amount of money before I was satisfied with life. And I'm guessing that's when they just stopped the survey because they found the pattern they were looking for. Shocking, but not at all surprising. Because we do this in our own lives. I do this in my own life all the time in so many different ways. How easy and how often can we say, if I just had fill in the blank, then I'd be happy. If I could just experience fill in the blank. If I could just achieve, if I could just attain, if I could just experience, if I could just receive, if my spouse was just, if my kids were just fill in the blank, then I would be happy. I wouldn't be thirsty anymore. But what Jesus is saying, what so many have discovered, is that when we go looking for these things, when we go looking for satisfaction and fulfillment in the things we often prioritize, we are always going to come up short. We're always going to be wanting and needing more. Because we all have a thirst as humans. We all have a longing for more, a deep desire for purpose, for meaning, for happiness. I mean, and really, when you break it down, that's why we often need more money. Yeah, sure, the cost of living and survival, but really what that is beneath the surface is security for my family. Peace, joy.
That's why we pour our blood, sweat, and tears, our heart and soul into our job. Statistically, it's not because we all love our job and wake up every day excited. It's because our job brings security, stability, which leads to peace, which leads to joy. That's why we go to that event. That's why we buy that thing. That's why we indulge in that experience, because we want to experience that joy, and often we will for a moment. And then that moment passes, and it leads us to wanting the next moment and the next moment. For those of us who hear that maybe you're not following Jesus, I'm sure you can relate to that experience of wanting these things, of wanting purpose and peace and joy. And having that feeling of finally getting everything you thought you needed, only for something in life to take it away just like that, and then you're back to square one. This is why what Jesus has to offer is so remarkable. Because when our faith and our lives are defined by circumstances and convenience, when we go to prioritize all these other things because we think that is going to fulfill that need, it leaves us wanting more. But Jesus says something so remarkable. He says, if you drink the water I want to give you, if you drink this living water, you will never, never thirst again. What's his point? His point is convenient faith will lead to circumstantial life change. But inconvenient faith leads to supernatural life change. Convenient faith leads to circumstantial life change. When our faith is defined by our convenience, our lives will be ruled by circumstances. I mean, we've all probably experienced this before. When life is good, my life and my faith is good. When life is bad, life and my faith is bad. I will, when everything lines up, I'll experience God and I'll spend a few moments with God. But usually, my mind is so full that I'm already thinking about what's next on my plate, or I'm feeling so empty that I just need to shut off for a few moments. When our life, when our faith is based on convenience, when we prioritize the things we feel are essential, rather than the thing that Jesus says is essential, we always find ourselves wanting more. But when our faith goes beyond our convenience, when we prioritize Jesus, even when it's inconvenient, when we move our faith from the optional to the essential category of our lives, we experience God changing our lives. We experience supernatural life change. We experience God changing our lives, because what happens in that moment of inconvenience is we are saying, God, this is the end of my natural resource. This is the end of my natural strength. I need you to step in and change my life. This is where I need to tap in to something that goes beyond convenience, beyond circumstance, beyond me. I need something greater than me. Convenient faith leads to convenient circumstantial life change, but inconvenient faith, when our faith goes beyond our convenience, it leads to something greater. Because, and we all get this, what good is a faith that is swayed by circumstances? A normal life without faith is swayed by circumstances. How can our faith, if it's beneath our other priorities, impact our other priorities? For our faith to be able to impact your priorities, it has to be first in your priorities. And Jesus says this, and he gives us this incredible promise. He doesn't just challenge us, he gives us a promise that supersedes the challenge. He says, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. Seek first God, and seek first to live a life for God, and all these things will be given to you as well. Notice a few things here. Notice that Jesus doesn't say seek only. He says seek first. Because he never denies that you're going to have wants and needs that you're going to want to accomplish, you're going to want to do. And he doesn't just say, forget about all that. 100% work, save, study, give it your everything. As a Christian, I believe you should be the most diligent, wise, and hardest working person on the planet. Do all those things. Jesus doesn't deny that we're going to want to do all those things. He just says, before you go about doing all the things you feel you need to do, seek me first. Put me first in your life. Put me first in your heart. Put me first in your day. Seek me first. Jesus wants to be our first priority, not a leftover. This is his great ask. This is the cost of following Jesus. And it's difficult. Man, it can be so difficult. I'm a new parent, and that means that in this season of life, it has changed the way I do faith and following Jesus in a lot of ways. It's changed my morning routine, my night routine. I can't even tell the difference between those anymore. Like it's just one big blur. I don't remember what happens. I don't remember where I am half the time. For Ash and I, it's another thing we've had to factor into how we do community and serving and all these different areas of following Jesus. And it's been really challenging to put Jesus first in each and every different area in this new season. And from what I hear from you parents, this is only just the beginning, okay? Like this, every new stage of parenthood brings new and fun challenges that you have to deal with. Like I see you with your toddlers after the service, just huddling them towards the door. Okay, and then as you walk past, you stop to say a quick hi, and before you can even finish your sentence, your toddler is at the 7-Eleven across the road. I see that. It can be so difficult with everything that's going on in our lives to be able to keep prioritizing Jesus, to be able to keep putting him first, even when it's inconvenient, and you're not always going to get it right. You're going to fall down. But if you allow God to pick you back up, and if you keep pushing forward, this is the promise that Jesus has for us. The result of us seeking him first, seeking to live a life for him first, is that all these things will be given to you as well. What are all these things? All the things you are pouring out your blood, sweat, and tears to accomplish. All the things that you hope and desire of attaining and achieving. Jesus says, if you would just seek me first, if you would just trust me, if you would show up even when it's inconvenient, if you would put me first, give me your first and your best, I will take care of your wants and needs in ways that you never could. He's saying you will never come off second best by putting Jesus first. Jesus is saying, if you only knew the gift of God that is in me, of what I can do in your life, through your life, of what you can find in me, you wouldn't go searching elsewhere. You wouldn't go looking for fulfillment in this priority or this essential thing or this necessity. You would simply come to me. You would seek me, and you would find everything that your heart is truly desiring. How we view God, how we view following Jesus, it changes everything. And the cost of following Jesus is our convenience and our first priority. But the gift of following Jesus is that we discover, we find what we are truly searching for in our lives. Convenient faith leads to material water that satisfies for a moment, but a faith that pushes beyond, a faith that puts Jesus first, leads to living water that will satisfy us to the depths of our soul. And so, if you want to experience this faith, and we're never going to fully get it right, if you want to experience a faith that fulfills you, I want to encourage you to wrestle with this question that I'm currently wrestling with in my life as well. And that is, what has taken place? What has taken the place of top priority in your life? And what would it look like for you to reorder your life to seek Jesus first? What is that thing that's like you wake up every day thinking about, needing, longing for? What is that top priority? What would it look like for you to, in some way, shape, or form, reorder your life, reorder your view to be able to seek Jesus first, knowing the promise that he has for you if you do? For those of us who are followers of Jesus, and you're honest enough, you're brave enough to admit, like in my hand will be the first one to go, like, yeah, sometimes I have convenient faith. Sometimes I let my other priorities stop me from experiencing what God has for me. Will your response be to this incredible gift? To take your devotion, your faith in Jesus beyond convenience, beyond circumstance. Imagine what your life would look like. Imagine what your faith would look like if you weren't dependent on circumstances and things lining up for you to be able to experience what God has for you. Imagine if you didn't have to strive and struggle to change your own life, but you experience God changing your life as well. And maybe you're here today, or maybe watching this online, and faith just hasn't been a part of your journey. What you need to know is that for this woman, she didn't earn it. She didn't deserve this gift. She simply knew she needed it. After a conversation with Jesus, she knew that she was forgiven of much, saved from much, and called to a life that was beyond her own experience. And Jesus offers you the same gift. Her response was, Jesus, give me this water. I'm all in. I'm all in. I want whatever you have. And our hope and our prayer is that you might have the same response and go on that journey of discovering the absolute gift that is Jesus. Let me pray for you today. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this incredible, this extraordinary, this life-changing gift that we have in Jesus, this living water that we can find the thing that truly satisfies us to the depths of our soul. And so today, right now, wherever we're at on that journey, we just take a moment to realign our hearts with yours and to seek you first. God, this is difficult sometimes. It's a challenge. We've got so much going on in life. There's struggles. There's life is hectic, but we know that the promise you have for us is if we would seek you first, far outweighs anything we could ever do for you. So God, we trust you. We love you. And we ask that this week you would help us to experience this living water. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks, guys. I'm going to hand back to Jono.
Thanks, Stephen. I did not realize when I was coming to church this morning that I would be challenged and encouraged and inspired by a new young dad, mate. That was absolutely awesome. He asked big questions there. Don't leave without wrestling with that question. Like sometime today, talk about it. Go, man, I've got to do something with that challenge. I'm proud of you, mate. Thank you so much. And look, if you're new here and you're like, well, what do I do next? Like, what's my next step? We have kind of like a short course we do here, and it's open to everyone. It's called Alpha. It kicks off tomorrow night. We've already got a stack of people who signed up for. But if you're interested in it, wrestling with questions about Christianity and Jesus, please feel free to see our team right now after the service today, Connect Hub. And I know it's going to be super fun. And also, if you've recently started your journey of faith and you're like, man, I'm all in with this, we have water baptisms coming up in 2 weeks. And so registrations are open. You can do that again at the Connect Hub or online, seeing of our team. We're going to see a stack of people water baptized, which is going to be pretty cool. Other than that, enjoy your day. Family Fun Day is beginning in T-minus 60 seconds. Have a wonderful week and look forward to seeing you on Mother's Day. God bless you.